the mountains and shouting loudly. Today's text is Mary's song from Luke chapter 1. Part of it, at least, most of it. And Mary said, verse 46, "My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever." The title of my sermon today is rather strange if you don't know what I'm talking about with this title, but it is, did you take the red pill or the blue pill? And I'm not talking about your discussions this morning with your loved one as to which medications you did or did not take and forgot to take and whatnot, but what I'm talking about is the new movie that's just been released a couple of days ago called The Matrix Resurrections. Matrix Resurrections. And I don't often base a sermon on movies, but today is a little bit different because I'm probably thinking that most people here in this building have not seen any of the Matrix movies and have no intention of seeing the new one that has been recently released. But I am banking on the notion or the idea that some watching by Facebook have and will see such this new release here. And of course, with every new movie that comes out, there's a lot of hype all around it and a lot of hoorah and everything about new movies. And will I see this new Matrix Resurrections movie? Probably at some point I will. Although this is the fourth in the Matrix series, and to be honest, the second and third ones, the sequel movies to the first one, have not, in my opinion, lived up to the success and the excellence of the first Matrix movie released back in the late 90s. Quite some time ago, it was a great movie in my mind. It is actually part of my curriculum for my philosophy students up at Lakes Region Community College. They have to watch that movie, and it's part of our classroom discussion because of the concepts presented in it. And if you've never watched it, or if you haven't seen it in decades, I'm going to give you a little synopsis here so we're all on the same page. It's about a future world, like so many movies are. It's about a future world where artificial intelligence, computers basically, they have taken over the world. And this is an anxiety that we have in our culture because as computers get more and more intelligent, we're worried that when are they going to get more intelligent than us? I don't know, but in this future world in the movie Matrix, the computers have already done that. They're more intelligent than us. They have taken over the world, but the thing is they need energy to run. Computers do. So where do they get their energy? Well, they get it in an ironic twist from the humans that created the computers. The bioelectric energy from countless millions of human beings all contribute towards the computer's running of its functions. But there's a trick to this. There's a trick. And the humans that are providing the energy for the computers to run, they have no idea they're being used as energy sources for the computer. And how, you ask? How is this possible? Well, this is the trick. This is the essence of the movie, is that the computers have created this virtual world for the people to live in. All the humans, they're all stored in these pods, in a stasis, asleep, unconscious, essentially, in the real world, so that their energy can be harvested. But while they're all in these pods in a stasis, their consciousness, their conscious thoughts is integrated into, yes, the Matrix. And that's where the name of the movie comes from. And the Matrix basically is this life simulation where the humans are placated and enjoy every virtual experience of pleasure out there. And they have this life full of constant, satisfactions and smooth life without have problems and such, and none of them know that they're living in this fantasy, unrealistic world. All the humans, they all believe and think that they're experiencing a real world that they're living in. And it's a pretty nice world. It's a really nice world. It's actually kind of utopic in so many ways, except for one thing. It's not real. It's not real. All the humans are living in a simulated paradise of a world, and the computer artificial intelligence makes sure it stays this way because it needs the human's energy. Everyone is in this matrix of a world, this fake dreamland of existence. Everyone except a few who have woken up to the true reality of their lives. The system isn't absolutely perfect. And sometimes humans kind of wake up to the real world in this simulation. And they realize that all that around them is a lie. This doesn't sound like a lot of the things that are being talked about on the news and in politics every day and things. Yeah, this is the common theme in our world. Well, these people that wake up in the matrix, they realize that everything around them is a lie. But in order to return to reality, which, by the way, reality for them is much, much bleaker compared to this fantasy world that they're living in. The reality is actually dreary for them, while the fake world is superlative. But as I said, this super fake world is fake. Is it better to live in a fake paradise or a real world that's full of toil, risk, and displeasure? Is it better? Which is better? Could you trade reality for pleasure? Could you do that? Would you do that in your life? Could you live a life that's a lie because it feels supremely satisfying to you? Or if you knew of its surrealness, would you not be able to be happy? If you knew, as wonderful it is, it's not real. Even as every need that you might have, or every want that you might have is provided for. Well, this is the choice that those who awaken to this fake reality have to make. And the leader of the rebellion gives them a choice after they wake up to this truth. He offers them two pills, a red one and a blue one. If the newly awakened person takes the red pill, then they see forever and fully the true ugly reality of the world. It means they can never go back. You can't go back to the fantasy land that they were living in before. But if they choose the blue pill at that moment in time, this is their last chance, then they fall back to this unaware state of bliss, continuing to believe that all they see is actually all that is real. In short, they have a choice between seeing the hard truth of life or staying in the delusion of bliss, thinking that the world is all rosy. If you had that choice, which would you pick today? Think about it. Which would you pick today? If you could choose to see all of life as good and pleasing and satisfying, even though it's not real, would you pick it? Would you pick that for yourself? Would you be satisfied with a fake world, even though it is so pleasurable? After all, it's fake. Now, how about in your life right now? You know, if you could erase in your life, if you could go back and erase all of the tough stuff that you dealt with, if you could erase all that, all the scars and the pain and the difficulty that's in your life right now, if you could erase all that, would you do it? You could erase it all and live a carefree life, but fake. Would you do that? Would you trade all your past pain for a carefree life now that's not real? Would you take the blue pill if you could? Of course, the Matrix is rooted, the concept of it is rooted in modern day thinking. Many in our world actually say now that what we see around us is not the actual world that we're living in. Conspiracy theories abound as to how secret powers rule the earth, and behind-the-scenes players who control life for their own gain are in control. And we're just pawns in some game that we know little to nothing about. We're hardly at all aware of the true workings of life and society around us. And those that see this true reality tend to trumpet what they see, and they shout it out to a world that has a choice to believe them and what they think is the truth, or continue in their delusion. Many people in our world right now are shouting and saying, do you want to be controlled and brainwashed? Do you hear this all the time now? Do you want to stay controlled and brainwashed by the media, by politicians, by this, by that? Or do you choose to see the grim truth so that we can do something about it? Essentially the same question. Do we take the red pill or do we take the blue pill? Of course, this is assuming that they're right and the current life we live is a pacifying delusion, and the reality is a dark world of powerful deception full of ultra-elite people who control us. But what if this is the opposite of what's really true? What if all this talk about elite control and delusion and brainwashing is not the reality? What if our world seems to be quite bad, and it feels like it's degrading all the time? We're all going down the tubes and down the drain here, like people say, like everything good is gone in our culture. What if the world feels that way, and those that think that way, they think that they're enlightened to a reality, they believe this way, but what if the world is actually a secret paradise and we don't even know it, and we're not even living in that paradise? What if the world is a secret paradise and it's visible to only those who have eyes to see it? Kind of like a reversal of the Matrix. The delusion that we see is the bad life of toil and pain, but the real world is actually blissful and blessed, but most don't see it. Enter Mary. Enter Mary into our story. She lived in a rough world. She lived in a brutal world. Rome was not kind. They talk in history class about the Pax Romana, Roman peace, and this is true. Roman peace ruled the empire, but boy, there was a price to pay for that peace. The absence of war was nice, but the price from Rome was that all resistance was violently squished by Roman authority, hence the crucifixion of Jesus. Perfect example of that. The Israelites lived without war under Roman occupation, but they also lived without freedom. And they lived in constant intimidation and fear and control, and that's what the people saw every day in their life. They fully believed and understood that this was what their world was all about. All of them except for a few. One of those few was Mary. She saw differently. She awoke to a truth about life. Look at verse 46. Look at what she's saying in verse 46. And this is such a beautiful part of the story of the birth of Christ, Mary's song. And Mary said, verse 46, My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God my Savior. As I read this, look at what she's looking at. Try to imagine the world that she is seeing when she says this. My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God my Savior. Verse 48, for he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. Mary had an epiphany of sorts. She was visited by an angel of God, and God showed her the truth of her life in a dramatically different way. It's as if she took God's red pill so that she remained in this new understanding of truth. And she saw the world in an amazing, amazing new way. Look at verse 51. Look at how she sees the world. Look at how Mary sees the world. Verse 51, he has shown strength with his arm, talking about God. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. Wait, what is she looking at here? What is Mary seeing here? What is she actually seeing? Is this reality? Are the proud scattered? No. They rule over the humble. In Mary's world and in ours, have the powerful been dethroned, like she says? No. The thrones are still all occupied by the rich and the powerful, who oppress the poor and the helpless every single day. Are the hungry and poor finding themselves with an abundance of all that they need? No. Have the rich been sent away empty? Have they lost their fortunes? No. The same rich are still rich, and the poor are still poor. Nothing has changed. None of this is real. None of what she's seeing is true. It's fake. So what's going on here? What is Mary really seeing? Is she in some sort of matrix herself, delusionally seeing the world as a heaven on earth, where all the wrongs are right and there's justice for the poor and the oppressed? Is she seeing all this while she actually lives in some bleak reality that she's unaware of? If Mary were alive today and proclaimed her vision of reality to our world, what would our world say? We'd probably lock her up for her own good, right? Our world, which has similarities to Mary's world, our world is not like the world that Mary sees. Mary's world was not like the world that Mary saw, but we don't see the world like Mary does. We don't see it. So who's taking the wrong pill? Was it Mary? Did she take the wrong pill, or did we take the wrong pill? Who's living, this is my question, who's living in La La Land? Are we living in La La Land, or is Mary living in La La Land? We see big money controlling politics, and the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer. Children are still suffering, powerless still being marginalized. The powerful wanting more and more control and power over us. Everyday people like you and I breaking our backs so that the elites can float on their yachts and visit their multiple vacation homes in locations that we could never even come within a mile of. Evil and moral degradation everywhere we look. Many claiming the social media and the news media is brainwashing people wholesale, spoon-feeding us blue pills of false realities every single day, spurred on by the secret elitist entities behind it all. Seems that there are people shouting from every angle that they have the true understanding of what's real and what's not real, how the world really works. I have the answer. No, I have the answer. No, come over here and listen to me. They all say that they've taken the red pill and now they see everything with perfect clarity, and they all claim to have the truth, but who's right? Who? Whose truth is true? Whose world is real and all the others fake? How can we know, and who can tell us? Maybe they're all wrong. Maybe we are all wrong. Maybe the only person who's right is someone that we would probably try to have committed if she were living in our day and age. Maybe Mary sees the real truth, and we don't. Maybe she's taken the red pill, or the real red pill, but the reality that she knows is not the doom and bleakness that we see. The reality that Mary knows is one of justice and peace and love. The reality that Mary sees when she sees the world is she sees a reality where God is in control, and Mary knows it. She knows it. Verse 49, "For the Mighty One has done great things for me. Holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation." Mary sees a world where God is fully in control. And God is fully in control for those who see it. She sees it clearly. Do you see it? Is that the world that you see when you look at the world? Is that the life and the existence that is real to you? We call this song of Mary, we also call it the Magnificat. Because that's the Latin word for magnifies. And that's the first word of her song is magnify. And that's how the Latin language and the Greek language work. The most important word comes first in a sentence. And then all the other words come afterwards. And that's just a different order of service. And so it literally in the original language and in the Latin, which it was translated into, literally it says, magnifies my soul the Lord. Because magnify is the most important thing. So we call it the Magnificat of Mary because it's the first word in her song. And this is important for the sermon today. Most importantly, Mary's soul magnifies the truth. Mary was given a choice between the red pill or the blue pill. She chose the red pill. And for Christians like you and I, the red pill is the reality of Christmas Day. It's the life and the death and the sacrifice of Christ that has created the ultimate reality that we live in, the reality that will never ever pass away. It overrides any games that this world plays and the rulers of this world try to play in our world today. The most powerful politicians and leaders and the ultra-wealthy are puny to God. They will not get in God's way like we think they are. There's no war on Christianity that is winning. God is not going to lose. Do we understand that? We can relax and understand that God is not going to lose. Ever. That's the world that Mary saw. And you'd think if you surveyed the church and the Christians in America, that we don't look at the world that way. We look at the world as God's already done. We are losing. God's lost. We might as well just give up or just complain and moan and groan about it, like everybody else in the world likes to do. It's up to us what world that we want to live in. It's up to us what world that our soul is going to magnify. What world does your soul magnify? If someone sees your soul, what world are they seeing magnified in your soul? Have you ever noticed the people that are so engrossed in all these conspiracy theories? They're often the most miserable people in this world. Did you ever realize that? Hey, you can magnify that in your soul if you want to. If that's the life that you want to live, and you want to magnify that from your soul, that's your choice. Or we can be like Mary, and we can see a world full of God's strength. I want to be like Mary. I want to see a world where the lowly are lifted up, and the hungry are filled with good things. There are two pills, the red one and the blue one. Which one did you pick? Which one is your soul magnifying? The world of doom or defeat? Or the world where God broke into reality and sent a Savior, and that Savior, Jesus, changed everything forever? It's never too late to be like Mary and reflect the real world. God's world. A world where God is in charge forever. A world that he promised to all his people, even to us, forever. Verse 54, and I'll end with this today. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors and to Abraham and to his descendants, that's you and I, forevermore. If you want to see a world like Mary, please stand with me right now. Please stand with me at home if you want to, or stand in your hearts and see the world as Mary saw it and then sees it now. We're going to change our final hymn today. We're going to sing number 199, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear.